Hi everyone. Good evening. If you can hear me, can you just put a S in the chat box? Okay, great. We'll wait for 2 more minutes for people to join in, and we'll start the webinar in a couple of minutes. Hi everyone. We'll wait for a couple of minutes for people to join in, and we'll start the webinar shortly. Okay, please stay tuned. In the meantime, people who are in the webinar, can you just please confirm whether you are able to see the PPT? Can you able to see the screen presented? And also, is the audio is um, well enough for you to hear? The audio is good as well. Can you just confirm in the chat section?
Because should we start? Can we start?
Yes, Saurabh. We can. I think we can start now. Yeah,
Sure.
let's let people talk. Okay, I'm just starting now. So, hi everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. So today's webinar topic is mastering prompt engineering and LLMs, skills you need in 2026. So before getting into the webinar, I'll quickly introduce today's speaker. Today's speaker is Mr. Saurabh Kango. He's a data science senior manager at Meesho. He holds 9+ years of experience in the field of data science and analytics. He has worked in multiple industries such as retail, travel, and tech. He has also worked with LinkedIn, where he had scaled insights to all the companies in the world. He has been a mentor with great learning for 3+ years, more than delivering 400 hours of educational guidance. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Saurabh.
Thanks everyone. All right. I hope everyone can hear me. If so, can you drop in a yes in the chat box? Um, I hope the audio is fine. If not, let me know. I hope everyone is doing well as well. So, welcome all. Very excited to be here today. Whether you've been working in the tech for a decade, whether you just started your career, or whether you just kind of Googled last week about, what is LLM, whatever is your background, this session is for you. And I mean about that, the content that we have designed is keeping in mind that we cover all the spectrums of the profiles of the learners. So absolutely, it is one of those sessions wherein you will definitely be using whatever you learn today. You can start applying it from tomorrow morning itself. Okay, so that is what makes this particular session very, very exciting. Before I start with the session, some ground rules about the session. The session is only on the listen only mode, which means your mic is muted, but that doesn't mean that we cannot ask the question or we cannot be active. Make sure that you're using, that doesn't stop you from being loud in the chat. So please use the chat as much as possible. Ask question, push back, ask about any topic that you did not understand, any topic that you wanted to understand. So I'll be reading this chat. So please ensure that you are very, very active in the chat. That will help me also know that you're paying attention to the content that we are covering. Okay, we'll be covering a lot of things today, but one most important thing that we'll be covering, as the header suggests, which is prompt engineering. This isn't just a word which is kind of randomly used by everyone in the internet. It is a skill that you can definitely start using as soon as this class is over. Doesn't matter if you are a developer, doesn't matter if you're a product manager, doesn't matter if you are in marketing or somebody who's just curious to know how ChatGPT works. This prompt engineering masterclass will definitely help you with knowing how to write the right prompts from in the future. Okay, if at any point of the time, if I sound too confusing or too fast, please type it in the chat box. Don't hesitate in asking any questions in the chat box. I would love to hear some questions from all of you as we go along in the webinar. Okay, so let me, first introduce about myself. My name is Saurabh. I am currently working as a senior manager in data science and AI at Meesho. Meesho is one of the largest, India's fastest growing e-commerce company. And over the last 9 years, I've worked across various industries. For example, I worked with Walmart in retail. I worked with Airbnb in travel. I worked with LinkedIn for about 3.5 years in the tech industry. Each of this industry taught me something different about the data. Retail taught me that the data is usually everywhere and is messy. The travel taught me like people decisions are far more emotional than rational. And of course, at LinkedIn, I saw that how companies are into data in order to find the right candidate for the roles that they're hiring for. So for hiring, how does the data plays a very important role? That is what I learned the most about, the decision side of data. So even at Airbnb, all the product decisions that we used to take, for example, should we have a logo on the left-hand side? Should we have a logo on the right-hand side? All of that tiny decisions were also driven by data. So that is what I've learned over the years, the power of data and its application. And with about 3 years of experience into teaching, I've given about 400 hours of educational learning as well. And that is probably something that I enjoy the most. It helps me also clear my concept when I'm teaching. So super excited to be here. And this is, something about me. Okay. Let's start with the next part, which is let's start with this one. What's the agenda? So this is what we'll cover today. What is large language model? How are your LLM trained? And the third one is prompt engineering fundamentals. So these are the three topics that we'll cover. We'll answer the question about what exactly are these LLMs, why is it so popular, how it works. Then how are these LLM trained? What made these LLMs so powerful? Where does they get all the information from? How are they able to answer all the questions that we ask them? So we'll be looking into that, how our LLM trains. And of course, one of the ways to interact with this LLM models, one of the ways to get the output from this LLM models is to use prompt engineering. So this is the section that is going to change, that is going to tell you how to use AI tool, how you can write better prompts. It is more about the art of communication with AI system that gets you the most possible result, the best possible result that you can see. And that is again something that we'll cover in depth in today's session. Okay, so with that, let's start with the first part, which is your large language model. Okay, there is this thing called as a large language model. What is it? How does it work? What is the background about it? Let's try to kind of understand this in detail. Okay, let me use a sheet for this. Okay, what used to happen was, say, previously, like in the past, the computers were designed, in the past, the computers were designed to store the data, isn't it? All your laptops and everything that has, it was all designed to store the data. Okay. And if you ask, the question that you can ask the computer was most likely to be, where is the file? Where is the file? And is there a particular word in the file, which is word matching? You would search for a word, I will give you the result. Is there a particular word in the file? In the file. Okay. Nowadays, and the the code that we are using, the processing engine that we are using was my CPU, right? I'm sure everyone who has used the laptop, we have all used this thing called as a CPU, which is there in our computers. Now, what has changed is, and that is the reason why, this AI has become so popular. Now, the computers cannot just store the data. The computer does not just have the data. What it also does is, it also reads and try to predict. Okay, it tries to read and tries to predict the understanding of the data. Okay, understand the word. I'm not saying that he really understands it. He will read the book and he will try to predict. It will try to predict that he understands whatever is the content of the book. Okay, he reads and tries to predict the understanding of the book. Okay, there is a difference. He does not really understand the book. He's just trying to predict what could be the answer. Okay, he tries to predict the understanding of the book. And why this is possible? This is possible because we are using something called as a GPU, graphical processing unit, built by NVIDIA. NVIDIA is one of those companies which invented this. And this GPU gives me the power to process like large amount of information in seconds through this chip called as a GPU. Okay. So because of this GPU, now the computer is not just storing the data, it is also trying to read and it is also trying to understand the book. It is trying to predict its understanding of the book. So now, next time if you ask a question, in the previous case, in the era when we were using CPUs, we were just asking where is the file, where is the particular word in the file. Now, if you ask him a particular question, if you ask him the question, it will also give you the result, right? It will also give you the result. So if you ask him who's the main character in the whole story, because he has read and understood what is going on in the book, he will give you the answer. Are you following along? what has changed? Previously, the data was stored in your physical memory and it was just lying there. All we can do is figure out where the file is and what is the content in the file, what are the words in the file. But with the help of the GPU, which enables us to do large processing of information at a very high speed, it now tries to read the book and also understand what is inside the book. And if you ask him the question, he will give you the result. Is it making sense till here? All of you, just say yes or a no. Anything that you want me to repeat, feel free to do that as well. Okay. Now, in this case, I'm taking one book at a time. In this example, I'm taking only one book at a time. Now, if you replace this particular book instead of replacing the book, if I say that understand the entire data of the internet, right? I'm saying read and try to predict the understanding of the entire data of the internet, all the codes that were written, all the information that was shared, all the news articles that were written, all the blog posts that were written, all the codes which are there on the GitHub, all your Medium articles, whatever is, the text that was created on the internet, whatever was the information created on the internet. Now try to understand the entire data on the internet, not sorry, interview, on the internet, and if he does that, if he tries to look at all the data which is available on the internet, and then if you ask him the question, this particular part where he has learned how to understand the entire data of the internet as your, because it is a text and it's a large text and it's a model which tries to update itself with the new information that it gets, this is called as my large language model. Okay, are you getting the definition? Large language model is a model wherein imagine that there is one supercomputer on which you have given the entire data of the internet, 90 petabytes of data of internet that is available. And you have asked that particular machine not just to store it, but also try to read it and understand the patterns within those words that he's seeing. So that if you ask him any question, anything, it could be related to a company, it could be related to a code, it could be related to some historic event, he will be able to remember it and also give you the result. And this is what brings us to this particular field, which is called as your Gen AI, right? Generative AI. What is generative AI? Now, generative AI is nothing but you are trying to generate the text from the model, from your LLM model based on the questions that you are asking. Okay, so these are some of the important terms that you need to remember. What is an LLM? LLM is a model which has been trained on a very large amount of data. It has not just stored the data, it has also tried to understand what is inside the data. And that is where it becomes so powerful that if you ask him any question, he will give you the very correct answer. Sounds good till here? Any questions so far? Okay. Now let's try to double down on how he tries to understand the data. How does he, it's a machine, right? How does the machine understand human? How does the machine understand what the humans are asking? So how does he actually understand the data? Let's try to figure that out. Okay, you may feel that he's able to understand everything that you're asking him, but it is not the case. It is the scene is that it is the game of the probability that is going on, and it's all about the probability through which it tries to understand the question that you are giving, which is the prompt, and the answer that he needs to generate, which is again um, the tokens that he has to generate. Okay, so let's see what happens in here. How does he actually understand the data, or how does he pretend to know that he has read the book, or in this case, the entire data of the internet? Okay, so see here. I want all of you to be active in the chat and tell me if you would have written this particular line. The movie was awesome. The overall experience was, can you guess what could have been the next word here? Anyone? The movie was awesome. Overall, the experience was, um, tell me what of the three words, positive, negative, magical, which word you would have added in here? Yeah, very good. The reason why you are saying positive is because of the word awesome, isn't it? Why did you not select negative? Because you have already mentioned that the movie was awesome. So hence, the best possible guess here is the experience was either positive or magical, isn't it? If this word was not available, if this particular word was not available, probably you would have also said, oh, there is a chance that it could be negative. But you are discarding the negative word because of this particular word that you have given in here, which is awesome. Whenever the word awesome comes, we usually see that it is positive or magical. We don't know. But either of the two seems to be a better fit for the next word that are in here. Okay, so the LLMs are actually trained using the language modeling. That is, it tries to predict whatever you write, whatever is the data that you give him, it tries to predict the next word in the sequence. That's it. When I say that he is able to understand you, what is he trying to do? He's just trying to predict what is the next word in the sequence for the information that he's seeing. Okay, so in this case, the bet that you can give is the probability that the next word will be positive would be very high, magical could be very high, but for the negative, it could be very low. Yeah, absolutely correct. Yeah, Adityan, absolutely correct. Okay, now let's look at this. If you give him more context, if you give him more context about what was the feeling about the movie, let's see what is the next word that you can predict from here. The movie is visually stunning, action-packed, and emotionally. The movie is visually stunning, action-packed, and emotionally resonate the thrill ride that will leave you on the edge of the seat from the beginning to the end. The experience was now based on the context that you're seeing, the based on the prompts, based on the tokens that you're seeing, based on the words that you're seeing. Now, what do you think is the probability of the next word to be positive? It is 0.03. What is the probability that the next word will be negative? It is very, very low. What is the probability that it will be the word magical? It will be very, very high, isn't it? If you give him more context, in the previous line, you just gave him one line context. But if you give him more context, is he able to give you far better prediction of the outcome? Isn't it? If you give him more and more context, if you give him more and more information, is it coming to a very standard and accurate result that you expect him to give you? Right? In this case, the probability of the word positive with this set of words, when he has learned all of this set of words, the probability of the person using the word positive was very, very low. Negative was extremely low, but the magical was extremely high. So if you ask this particular statement to the LLM model, they will say it was magical. Are you able to understand how it works? That's the reason why if you give him more context, you will get better result. If you try to give very less context, if you try to give him very less words, he will try to assume everything and give you the result. For example, in this case, you assume that because the movie was awesome, it is positive. So here he took the assumption on the past historic data that he has seen. But if you give him very, very specific context, he will be able to give you much better result. Okay, and that is the reason why I'm sure in the industry you would have heard this term hallucination. The reason why it hallucinates is because you're not giving him the context, and because you're not giving him the context, he's giving you some made up numbers or made up result. And that's the reason why whenever we are actually using LLM model, we need to give a lot of context. That is, we need to give a better prompt so that he's able to make a good prediction. Okay, so the movie was awesome. The overall experience was this is what it will match, and we'll say it was matched. Okay, now how does it got trained onto this, right? Like how did he got trained onto giving such output? It's very simple. For example, if you write the word the, right? I'm sure you would have seen it in Google search as well. As soon as you write the word the, does it give you a certain prediction? On Google, if I write the word the, does it give certain prediction? Now, if you write the word movie, does it give me another prediction? Was, right? Is it giving me another prediction? What is it doing? Is Google really understanding what I want? No. It is just saying that anyone who types the word movie, the next word which has been written by most of the people or searched by most of the people here is the word database, is the word DB. Now, if I write the word was, suddenly my output will change. Probably most of the people who have reviewed about the movie on IMDb, they are writing the word interesting. So that is the word coming first. Now, if you write here awesome, right? The movie was awesome. It will try to give you the next word, which is coming from here. So this is exactly how, this is called as a BERT model, BERT model. And that was the foundation that is used in the LLM models. LLM models also work in a similar way. So when you ask him something, he tries to predict what could be the next word. And through that word, based on the sentences that he has read and understood from the data on the internet, it tries to make the prediction of what exactly you want. Okay, so here if he sees that 80% of the sentences that he has read has movie was awesome and overall so he will try to predict the word experience and then he will say is magical. Okay, so it is just simply trying to understand the patterns of the words that he has learned when through a very, very large amount of data. And he just tries to predict the pattern. It just tries to give you the output of the pattern that he has learned from. So whenever you use a chat GPT like a tool and you give him a prompt, the output is nothing but what could be the next possible word that you want. And that is what it totally generates as an output. Okay, so this is how it works. So you write the movie, then it will try to predict from his LLM model that, okay, whenever the movie comes, the next word is was. Most of the users have always written awesome. So he's been trained on awesome more than negative. So it will try to predict was awesome. And then it will say overall, and then it will say and then it will try to predict the next set of values. And this is how your LLM models actually understands your information. Okay, so the most important thing that you need to understand from today onwards is the LLM does not understand exactly what is the data or what is that you are asking for. It tries to predict the next word in the input sequence. Whatever is the input sequence that you give, whatever is a prompt that you give, it tries to predict the next word, and that is how it generates the text as an output. Are we clear on this part? How it works? Okay, please, one of the most important thing that you need to understand is that um, it is not a search. Are we doing a search in here? Unlike Google, are we searching anything? No, it is not a search. It is the next best prediction of the word based on the sequence of words that you are giving him. Based on whatever is the sequence of the words that you are giving him, it will try to predict the next word. And that is how LLM actually understand what you are asking for. Okay, cool. Um, so over the last 2 years, the LLM models have evolved to be AI assistant. The first one, which started, was in 2018. How does it predict the first word in the sentence? No, that is where you have to give a prompt. No, that is the prompt that you are giving. You are saying, give me the details of the company Apple. Now, what happens when you give that particular prompt? He will be like, okay, Apple is XYZ. Apple was born in here. Apple was doing like that. So that is how it tries to trigger and give you the output. Okay. Cool. So this is the history, some brief history about the AI models. GPT-1 came in 2018. GPT-2 came in 2019 with 1.5 billion parameters. You can consider that this is the amount of words or the data that he remembered. As we went along, it increased to 175 words, 175 billion parameters. After that, after this came the GPT-4. That is where it was released to everyone. GPT-3 was released to humans for doing their task. And now we are in 2023 where GPT-4 with 1 trillion parameters have been provided, right? And this is massive. Like 1 trillion parameters means almost 1 trillion tokens. 1 trillion tokens is actually like almost every information that is available on the internet, every other information that is ever written is what this GPT model has been trained upon. Okay, it started with 1.5 billion words. Now, words or token, as they call it as, now it is up to almost 1 trillion parameter. And this is just a start. I'm sure with, 2025 release or 26 release, I'm pretty sure this token will increase and the machine will be able to remember lot many other things, lot many new things, and you will be able to generate lot much information because it is being trained on a very large data set. Okay, so yeah, the ChatGPT previously was using reinforcement learning in when it released in 2020. Now it is having GPT-3 plus reinforcement learning plus the safety mechanism so that you're not getting into trouble in terms of giving the output which is the incorrect output or is doing something unwanted from the platform. Okay, so this is how the LLMs are trained. The foundation model is a large corpus of internet data. Like I said, it's a massive amount of data. Then on top of it, there is the supervised fine tuning that happens. Supervised fine tuning is nothing but whatever is the result that it is predicting, somebody will sit and validate whether it's a correct result or not a correct result. If it is a correct result, it will try to learn from the correct result. And if it is an incorrect result, it will try to relearn it. And that is where this SFT model comes. It is fed to the reinforcement learning with human feedback. So every time you give the prompt, it is asking, or every time it gives the result, I'm sure ChatGPT is asking you whether the answer is correct or not. Uh, is it something that you are looking for or not? So through that, it try to learn from whether whatever is the outcome that you're giving, is it correct or not? That is how it was evaluating the output thoroughly. And this is how we are now creating a GPT assistant, which is when you type something in the chat box, it will give you the result. Okay, so now comes the most important part. Like I said, if you have understood how what LLM does, how it is not a search, but it is trying to predict the next word, next best word possible. We need to also understand how to ask the question because totally the output totally depends on how you are asking him about a certain task that you want him to do. Because, like I said, it's not like a human who will understand what you're looking for. It only understands the word, it only understands probability, and it only tries to give you the next word from the sequence of the word that he knows. Okay, so for that, we need to use something called as, we need to learn something called as prompt engineering. Now, what is a prompt? The prompt could be as simple as asking something. It could be, it could be as simple as a simple word that you're giving to the, a simple word that you're giving to the machine. For example, when you search on Google and you write AI is dangerous, that's also a prompt, right? Something that you're asking, something that you're kind of computing, that is nothing but your prompt. Okay. So if you search AI is dangerous, this is nothing but you're giving a prompt to the Google to search about the words AI is and dangerous on any of the websites that is available on the internet. Okay. So for example, this is also a prompting I had, and it will try to predict the next word, which is a great time. And if you give this sentence, I had a great time to the to a model, that becomes your prompt. Okay, so this is about the prompt. It triggers a specific set of actions or event. Okay, prompt is a specific set of instructions sent to the LLM to accomplish a task. And engineering is nothing but iteratively deriving a specific prompt for the particular task. Okay, for example, if you write this particular prompt on ChatGPT, give me the details about the company Apple. Can I say it will give you the entire history of the company Apple with who's the founder, what are their balance, what is their balance sheet looking like, and every other information about the product, isn't it? Anytime you are using ChatGPT, let's try to do this. How does prompting plays a very important role? Let's check this out. So what happens is, let's say if you ask him the question, give me the details of the company Apple. Okay. Now what it will do is, from this sequence of words that you have given, it will go to the LLM model, and the LLM model will try to predict the next set of words. For example, whenever somebody has asked, or whenever he learned about this particular statement, details of the company Apple, he knows that it starts with what is Apple, who's the founder, etc., etc., and it will give you the same output in here. Again, it's not a search. From the model that it has learned from, it will try to predict the next sequence of words, and it will give you the result that you see. Okay, so like this, Apple is one of the most valuable influential companies in the world. It is giving all the generic information that most of the people would have asked for, and it is just trying to predict one word after the other. After this word, this word, after this word, this word, and that is how it is kind of generating the result for you. Now this is nothing but you are asking him like a Google search, give me this, give me that, and this does not work, right? This is very what do you say, generic output it will generate. It is very not a very thorough output that you should have usually got. So how do you work upon your prompts? How do you work upon your prompts with the help of something like how many tokens you need to give him? Because the more the token you give, more the information that you give, more the words that you give, it becomes easier for him to predict in which line he has to create a sentences. That becomes very important. And then you need to also give him the constraints, because imagine that it knows everything which is available on the internet, so it can go anywhere, right? It can go to the fruit apple as well. You don't know what will happen. So what you need to do is you need to also give him certain constraint. You need to tell him how the output should look like, and you need to ensure that you are giving us right set of input, right set of instruction, so that it can generate a text that you can utilize for any decision making in the organization. Now for the same information that I'm looking for, if I give him a very structured prompt with a role defined, so that he's able to understand in which context are you asking, with the task defined, with the constraint defined, and the output defined, you will get a totally different result. Okay, so what you should always do is, like, one of the best practices of prompting is that you should always start with first telling him what is the role, as you need to define him the role. Because once you define him the roles, his pre-trained model actually goes to that particular role. If he's been trained as an analyst, he will kind of think as an analyst. If you say that you are a data engineer, he will think about himself as a data engineer, and then try to predict the next set of sequences. So the first thing that you should do whenever you are doing the prompting is to write the role. For example, in this case, you can say you are a financial analyst, um, working in the walls, working in the major bank in the Wall Street. Okay, so you're defining the role, that this is the role. Okay, then you say your task. Now you define what is your task. Your task is to understand the financial. This is, I'm trying to get to know more about the financial. Um, you know, I want to get the details about the financial metrics of the company Apple. Of the company Apple. Now, is it possible that it can give you 10 years of financial history? If you just write like this and you send him the prompt, is it quite possible that he will give you the 10 years of history of data? Absolutely, yes. So that is where the constraint comes into the picture. First, you define the role, then you define the task, then you define the constraint. Like, what do you actually want? So the constraint here is So you can say constraints, consider the data from 2025, from 2024 to 2026, share the projected financial numbers as well. Okay. Then, because if he does not find the information, it creates the information, and that is called as hallucination. So in order to avoid the hallucination, you should definitely tell him this is again a part of constraint so that it does not hallucinate. So you can say, do not invent the numbers. Uh, if the numbers are not available, if the numbers are not available, use flag it, flag it as data not available. Okay, so this part, the role, the task, the constraint, data not available. And then the final thing that you give him is, because the more you give him the context, the more you give him the proper understanding of what you're looking for, it tries to predict the prompt in that particular way. It tries to predict the next word in that particular way. And the results are absolutely different, right? And finally, I'm going to tell him what is my output format. The output format should be uh, a table with quarterly data of the matrices and insights about the company performance. That's it. Okay, so this is, instead of just writing this simple prompt, which is give me the detail of the company Apple, if you give him a prompt which is sequential, which is defining the role, it is trying to give you the task, you're giving the constraint, and then you're giving him what is the output format. Now see what is the difference it makes. This time it will be very, very structured towards what you have asked for. Yeah, see, for this time he's saying, I'm not making any numbers for 2026 quarter. So I'll just say that the data is not available. Okay. Okay, so this method wherein you know how to talk, the sequence, the process in which you know and understand how to talk to the AI, that is my prompt engineering. The temperature, the number of tokens that you're providing, the frequency that you're giving, the parameter structure that you're giving, that is exactly what is prompt engineering. And this is one of the most important skills that we need to learn because like I said, if you give him a prompt like this, he will give you the answer like this. But if you give a very, very structured prompt based on what you need, how you need, what are the constraints that you need to give to avoid hallucinations, that is where this concept of prompt engineering plays a very, very important role. Okay, so that's what I'll say. One of the significance of prompt engineering is that you can give a prompt which says write a blog about the benefits of medication for mental health, targeting beginner audience and optimize for CEO. Uh, so in this case, you can say that the prompt is designed to control the behavior of the LLM by specifying the topic, target audience, and optimize criteria. The prompt includes the words and the phrases such as medication, mental health, beginner, uh, and SEO, which constrain the model response to a particular domain and style. The prompt provides the context and specific tones and style, which helps the model understand the task and generate the high quality output. The prompt can be used to automate, such as fine-tuning, evaluation, and deployment. Have we got the result? Okay. Then, what are the limitations of prompt engineering? This is again something that you should be very much aware of. The prompts can be sensitive to any small changes in the prompt, which can significantly impact the output of the model. For example, in the prompt that I gave him, instead of saying that I'm a financial analyst, if I tell him that I'm a data analyst, in that case, he will try to do more product kind of analysis. Right? He will not do more financial analysis, he will do more of the product analysis. So even a small change in the prompt can have a very, very common, very, very different result. The second thing is because it is trying to predict the word, he can make mistakes, isn't it? It's all about probability. And because it is all about probability, it can make mistake. It does make mistake. If say 100 people have said that the movie is awesome, but it's 1 on 5, right? Like you could have seen it. Like most of the people would say, "Oh, the restaurant was good, but the rating is 1 on 4." So he will actually learn from that. He will not take into consideration the common sense that, hey, you know what, the customer is saying that everything was went well, but he's considering the rating which is on the lower end, right? So that kind of common sense mistake, it does make. Sometimes if you don't give him the exception handling for a task that you're giving, he may not be able to handle it. And the most difficult part, which probably everyone in my organization or in my current role that I face, is the debugging. If you're generating a code, if you're generating the output, it becomes an extremely challenging task to just figure out whether that particular task was correctly done or not. So these are some of the limitations of AI plus prompt engineering, which is that not always you will get a very specific result. Not always you will get the expected result. The exception handling needs to be very, very carefully done, and debugging is extremely hard. Okay, so is he still given the answer? Okay, let's look at this. Hmm. So as soon as I don't invent numbers, is like I have implied revenue per this one. It's not invented. It is source-based calculation. So there you go. We will nicely give you the revenues for every quarter, year-on-year growth, net income, margin, and the status. Okay, so this is what prompt engineering is all about. A simple prompt versus a very well structured prompt, the output is totally different. Okay, cool. I think this is what I had to cover. Any thoughts, questions? Do you think now you can use AI a little better compared to what you did before the class? If you have understood how LLM works, now do you think you can write better prompts or at least have an idea of how LLM works? Or no response, I don't know. Yes, no. I think my model is predicting the answer should be yes. Hope your model is also saying it as yes. All right. So yeah, this is what I had to cover. Vikas, you want to take up from here? Okay, you knew this already. Great.
Yes, Saurabh, we'll take. Okay.
Awesome.
I'll just present my screen.
Hmm.
Hi everyone. I hope my screen is visible. Uh, as the webinar went by, we now know how important prompt engineering and LLMs are playing a big role in recent technologies, right? So we are giving you a right platform where you can start learning about these technologies, right? Before going into the course, I will give you an introduction about the company. So we are Great Learning. We are basically India's leading edtech company for professional and higher education. Right? We have 15,000 plus career transition, 4,200 plus hiring partners. We have 500 million plus hours of learning delivered, right? 100,000 plus live session conducted. We are also having partnership with big universities like University of Texas at Austin, MIT, MIT Professional Education, Northwestern University, John Hopkins University, Great Lakes, Walsh College, IIT Bombay, Deakin University, etc. Right. So going into the program is the postgraduate program in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So this is basically a 12-month program. right? It is given by the University of Texas at Austin, and this is a flexible learning program. So this is mainly created for working professionals, right? So all the classes will be on weekends, and it won't bother any of your day-to-day uh, job. Okay, and this has 600 plus hours of online content. So note that these have both live sessions and recorded sessions available as well, right? You will learn 27 plus languages and tools, right? And you will also have a lot of hands-on training. Okay, and you will also get a dual certification from the University of Texas at Austin and also from Great Lakes. So, so these are the basic curriculum, right? Initially, you will be given the foundations of Python, introduction to SQL, applied statistics, exploratory data analysis, and data pre-processing, right? And after that, you will be given introduction to the generative AI recommendation systems, etc. Post going there, you will have a domain exposure regarding the supervised and supervised learning, neural networks, deep learning, computer vision, and NLP. So apart from that, we have also introduced Gen AI plus agentic AI in the curriculum right now. We have a very detailed curriculum regarding Gen AI and agentic AI since they're currently in trend, right? And these are some of the tools that you will be learning in this course as well, right? Note that you will have capstone projects, you will have hackathons, you will have case study based projects, right? You will have a lot of things, you will have a lot of hands-on sessions as I mentioned, right? So, what I will be doing now, I know you will have a lot of doubts regarding whether this program is suitable for me or whether, is this the right program for me, or do we have any other programs related to Gen AI or Agentic AI or AI, right? So, what I will do is I will share you a feedback form right now, right? You can fill in all the queries that you have, right? Even queries related to the next sessions, queries related to the recording of the sessions, the content that was presented today, anything related to the program or any kind of certificate course from which you want to start your AI journey. It may be certificate in agentic AI, generative AI, AI as a whole, as I presented you right now. So you by filling this form, our learning consultants will connect with you, right? And they will give a better clarity on your eligibility and which program is the right one for you. Okay. So I'll wait for 2, 3 more minutes for everyone to fill this Google form, right? And post doing that, I think if you have any more queries, I think Saurabh can take it up. But if not, then we can end the webinar in next 2 to 3 minutes. I'll wait for a few more minutes for people to fill up the Google forms. Is there any other doubts you have in any of you regarding the course or regarding the content that was presented today? You can just put it in the chat section. I'm also sharing the feedback form one more time for you guys to take a few minutes and enter the details there. Right. Okay, I think that's it from my side, Saurabh. Do you have anything left?
I'm good at some. Because I'm good, I'm done.
Okay, Saurabh. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining.